All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Aliza Bloom Robinson, and I am here today with my friend, my colleague, my consciousness buddy, if you will, Francesca Cassini. And we just wanted to, well, I wanted to just really have a conversation with Francesca. She is the founder of the Silver Tent, the Silver Synergy, the Silver Legacy, and I don't even know what all. And I'm in the process of developing my next collective, which is called the New Humanity or the New Humanity Collective. So I wanted to just have a really informal conversation about with you, Francesca, about how that initial impulse arose in you and how you took it from that first impulse. I mean, it's been what, 7 or 8 years since you started the
Yeah,
tent? And I
yeah.
think I was in the first sort of very early on because I remember when you hit 100 members. And what do you have now? Like 8,000, 7,000
Just
members?
over 7,000. Yeah,
Something like that. Yeah. So if you can recall
I can.
when you had that impulse, what was it? Tell me about it. 'Cause it was
Oh, well, I
cool.
love being asked this. I love it because it was, when you just suddenly feel that there's destiny, destiny thing. And it did begin to feel a bit like that. And I'd been out in Peru and I think I was 59, something. Anyway, roughly. And I've been asked to escort a woman on the same plane with me. We were doing a group tour together, and I was told that she needed looking after because she was the same age as me, but she had ME or fibromyalgia or one of those. Anyway, she was from Alaska, and we were on the plane, and she looked like not an old person, but she didn't look kind of cool and funky or anything like that. She looked like, really hope she's not watching this. She looked like an older person. And I didn't notice at that point that I was judging her because of that. I was kind of putting her like that she wouldn't be that interesting. It was ridiculous. Anyway, we had this hour's flight over the Andes, and she was within minutes. I realized how very wrong I'd been. She was so cool, so funny, and so wise. And it was in that moment over the Andes, I got this idea that we women over 50, 60, 70, 80, and beyond are wise elder women. And I feel that it's got something to do with going through the menopause, but I don't have any proof for that. But there's something about us that we have this incredible reservoir of wisdom. And looking at the way the world is today, I feel that it's really vital
Mhm.
that we actually take our wisdom out into the world. And so that sat with me. I was really taken by that whole concept. I'd never gone there before. I'd never looked at the potential value of women that were over 50, 60 and beyond, even though I was 59. And then a year, no, less than a year, about 6 months later, I found myself crazily spending an off-grid winter on my own in a yurt on a wild Welsh hillside during the wildest, wettest winter on recorded history in Wales.
Wow. I actually remember, I don't know how I would have known you. Maybe it was after I was in the tent, but I
Uh,
remember some of those adventures.
oh, I mean, it was amazing. And I was frightened a lot of the time. But when I came out of the other side, I realized that, it was 4 months in the winter. And it was quite a baptism, really. Um, I felt like I'd regained a younger aspect of myself, that I wasn't just a scaredy cat. I was resourceful. I stuck to my guns, and I began to really appreciate and approve of myself more than I had done. And I thought how amazing it would be to set up somewhere where I could invite other women to experience that kind of journey, that kind of personal journey in that kind of environment. But you need money and yurts and space and land, you know, all that kind of thing.
Resources.
Exactly. So, but it was always in the back of my mind. And then, let's see, and then about another 9 months later, I lost my one client. So I had a client that I was working substantially for each month, and that was due to continue on and on for an indefinite period of time. And then out of the blue, it went, just gone. And I'd been on an extraordinary shamanic retreat that reconnected me to my Lemurian self, which consciously didn't mean much to me at all, but to my heart, definitely, I could feel that it had deep significance. So I came back from that trip, discovered that I didn't have a job or didn't have an income after two further weeks, and I was in this tiny little caravan with a sick cat. And I was sitting there thinking, like, what do I do now? And I'd made a commitment to myself years and years ago that I would only do things that I love.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do things I didn't love just for cash.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, I had this. It was as if the image of the silver tent and all its structure just dropped into my consciousness, fully formed, like a huge big crystal. I mean, I was just sitting there and I went, oh, wow. I'll create this community for women over 50, 60 and beyond. We'll have women like yourself, really with so many skills to your bow. I don't think that's quite the right thing, but you've done a lot of growth and spiritual growth and personal growth, and you've got a very vast, deep wisdom. And I thought, so we would have women like you that kind of know who you are, and we would put you together in a community with women who had lost their way, who maybe didn't think that they had any value after their children have left home, and they're not working anymore, and they're postmenopausal, and the impact that has on so many women when we discover we're not physically fertile anymore. And I thought we'd put them together in this amazing community, and we'll have Silver Tent TV, and we'll have Silver Tent Productions for making movies and documentaries. We'll have Silver Tent Radio. We'll have just like this incredible smorgasbord of opportunities that allow us to take our wisdom out into the world, and we can become this one-stop shop. That's quite a long answer to that question, but that's how it happened. It was just this boom kind of thing. The whole thing just rocked up, and I would have been completely overwhelmed had the man that had been paying me as my client hadn't offered his services to do some IT work for me. I think he felt really bad that he'd run out of money and that I was like pushed off the edge of a cliff financially. So he said, if you want to set up something like a summit, an online summit, he said, I'll help you do that.
Wow.
So okay. Yeah. Oh, great. Well, we'll wrap it around a summit. So that's what we did. So I had enough help or promise of help that made me think that I could do this. But I'm known for that. I'm known for going, oh, I can do that easily.
Right. Without having any idea what that is, right?
And by the time you realize it's not remotely that easy, it's way too late.
It's way too late. You're way too far in it. Yes.
You just have to find a way through. And that's happened to me so many times. And it's been absolutely the same with the Silver Tent. But because it felt like there was this level of destiny,
right, that
it wasn't just like, oh, here's a cool idea that will make me a few quid and get me out of a hole. It was, oh, this is something. And I remember the moment that I knew that without a shadow of a doubt. So on this shamanic retreat I'd been on, most of the people there were women over 50, and I'd got together with two of them, I think, and we had such a laugh together. And I'd said to them before we left the retreat, we should get together, all buy biking leathers. I've never been on a, well, I have been on a motorbike, but I've never driven. Get some biking leathers, and we'll create a rock band, and we'll call it Crohn's Rock. I just had this complete fantasy about going on some show. And I mean, I don't play a guitar or anything, you know, so it's complete fantasy. So when I opened up the Facebook group initially, it was called Crohn's Rock, which must have been when you joined it, Aliza.
It could have been. I'm not recalling that so much as really the silver tent. So I don't know if we could go back and even find out, but
we probably could.
Yeah.
So quite a few people have said, oh, I really love what you're creating here, but I don't like the word Crohn. So I was driving along this beautiful valley through the Welsh mountains. I mean, it was absolutely blissful. And you know, the power of asking the right question.
Exactly.
If you ask the right question, you just get the answer, don't you? So I'm driving along, and I talk out loud a lot to myself. And I said, what would be the name of the community for women over 50, etc., that would be our equivalent of the red tent? So the moment that you ask that obvious a question, of course, it comes through. The name, the silver tent, I absolutely know came from somewhere up there. It was like a bolt of lightning that came down through my crown chakra, right through my body, through the car, down into the road. I burst into tears. I got goosebumps all over, and I'm getting it now, the silver tent. And it's like, oh. And I can feel that powerful emotion now, that, and it really elevated it. It took it into a whole different realm of, this is what I came here to do. Might not be all I came here to do, but it's certainly something I came here to do.
Right. It's that combination of, this is what I came here to do, with the destiny, and it's so much bigger than you. Like all three of those pieces create like almost a portal to, like, here it is. Here it is.
Yeah. You were open, you've got it, run with it.
Right. And no, we're not giving you all the details because it will overwhelm you, but just take the next step, right? Have the big vision and take the next step.
Yeah.
It's so stunning. So logistically, okay, so you've got the Crohn's Rock. I love that. And then you've got the silver tent idea, and you created a Facebook group.
Yes.
And you must have had a language in there that was reaching people, because my recall is it grew fast.
It did. And that, I don't really know what made that happen, but because I didn't have any other work at the time of any description, I could spend my whole day online. So I liked every post. I liked every single comment, and I responded to every post and to every comment. And I really get that people felt seen and heard, but I would put posts up and say, you know, how many of you remember those glitter balls that they used to have in discos? Remember even the word disco?
Discos.
You know, and we'd have conversations like that, and I think there was this deep appreciation for the world that we grew up in. And then when a generation older than me would come in, then they would share theirs, and it'd be like, oh wow, that's what the world looked like through your eyes. And you know, so I think it just became this really, I don't know, accepting kind of place. And I was very clear. I used to love watching soaps on TV. One of my favorite was Neighbours.
Okay.
And the reason that I liked it so much is because they always had a young teenager that was, you know, they'd lost their way. They were off the rails. They might be drinking, taking drugs, stealing, lying, whatever. Well, all of those things. And then one of the families would take this person in and care about them. And that young person would discover that they were accepted and that they were loved and that they could be themselves. And they always turned into an amazing pillar of the community. Might take years, but you would see that transformation. I think that open-heartedness stuck with me. It's like, that's the kind of community I'd like to be in.
Right.
It's somewhere where I can make a mistake, or I can stand up and say something and I'm not going to be ripped to shreds.
Right.
And that's the kind of culture that I fostered right from the beginning. So in all that time, I think I've only kicked out 4 people. And apparently that's really rare.
I think that's really rare, but I think I'm just wondering out loud, pondering out loud, but to start the conversations on things like disco balls, or whatever, right? I think that creates that connection without having to be too vulnerable. And then that connection, that acceptance that you talk about, creates the ability to then go into some deep conversations. And I know we've had some heated conversations in the tent, but what I've witnessed is your ability to hold it all. And I was not aware you kicked some people out. I might be able to recall a moment of that, but to hold that, this is my words, not yours, safe and sacred space to be all of who you are, right? Your celebrations, your sorrows, your disagreements, all of it, without anything but seeing people, witnessing people.
It's something I've longed for all my life, is to have that acceptance from others.
Yeah.
And I do find it challenging, sometimes if people say, oh, you're wrong, or I don't agree with you. I have to go through all my stuff. And I really appreciate you saying that I hold the space well. I do, because it's online. I think if it was in person, I don't think I would have quite the skill that I can close my laptop and I can have my hissy fits if I need one, but nobody's
with your closest circle who won't judge you for it.
Yeah, it's
right?
them. Like, usually it's just my dog.
Oh, there you go.
And then what I do is I just wait until I'm a Libra, so I wait until I get to that point of balance where I'm no longer annoyed or angry or hurt or whatever it is. If it doesn't always mean I get triggered like that, but if I do, and then once I'm in that quiet space in my heart, then I can respond.
Yeah.
And I won't respond until I've got to that point of balance. So that's the people, they don't see the person.
Right. They don't see all of the behind the scenes, all of the inner work, all of the, even all of the work that it's taken to get you to where you are now.
And it can be messy.
Yeah.
I can be very messy on that journey to.
Well, I mean, we're still in human form. So I think that is how we learn and grow, is we have to go into the mess. And what I find in the world right now, just to sort of throw a different piece in, is like what's coming up in the world right now is I think a greater dismantling, a collapsing of the conflict, but it has to come out, and that it by definition is messy. It's like we're dismantling, if you will, our spiritual egos and our spiritual arrogance in ourselves as we judge what's happening in the world, even if we say we're non-judgmental. That's a crock. There's another talk title, right?
Actually, that's a great one.
So we've taken a fair amount of time already, but just to sort of lay it out, you've got the silver tent, which is 7,000 people, more than that. It's open to anybody, any woman over 50, right? Wise, wonderful, wisdom, wild,
I kind of feel like I need to just qualify what I mean by woman.
Okay, please.
Is because I feel that the menopause is a portal to
Mm.
this deeper wisdom. Then I am, when I say woman, I mean a woman that can and is going or has gone through menopause. So I know that that might not be popular with some people, but it is what I believe is right for the silver tent.
It is your container.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Interesting. And then within that, you've got the silver synergy, which is say a little bit about what that is and how it's different than the tent.
Yeah. So the tent is the free group. And like you say, any woman over 50, 60 and beyond can join. They're more likely to be interested in slightly alternative things because that tends to be the thrust of many of the conversations around personal growth and what have you. But the silver synergy aspect is for those who, well, there are two reasons for joining that. One is that you can have much more intimate connections because it's not 7,000. So currently it's around 130. And lots of the 130 don't come in each day. So around the calls that we host regularly, like weekly, you get to know people really well. And even though it's online, that level of intimacy is surprisingly high.
Mm-hmm.
So some people join simply because they want that. They want a smaller place to be authentic in. They're not going to share their deepest, most vulnerable parts of themselves in a group of 7,000, but they are more likely to. They don't have to, but if they want to, then they're more likely to feel held in that space.
And they're more likely to know each other. We're more likely to be in relationship.
And it's beautiful. You know, people have said to me, oh, but it's exclusive or it's no elitist. Well, it's no more elitist than going to a gym where you pay a gym membership. It's the same kind of thing. But because you go into a smaller environment and you see the same people over and over again, you get to know them and therefore you feel bonded.
Right.
So when somebody new comes in, they might take a while to feel comfortable, but it's no different to going to a new school or gym membership or, you know, whatever. So same kind of thing. And then the other kind of women that join are those that really want to drive their, well, actually, let's not use the word drive because it's terribly masculine, that they want to share their wisdom more widely. Mm-hmm. And so one of the benefits of being in Silver Synergy is you can share your work and your offerings in the Silver Tent. And you can say, I'm running a course, I'm doing this, I'm selling a book, you know, whatever it might be. But it still, that only really works if you've started to build relationships in the Silver Tent.
Right.
You know, I noticed that if we just pop in there and go, oh, I'm running a course, are you interested? People just ignore it.
Right. Especially in this day, because there's so many offerings, you know, it used to be there weren't that many offerings, you know.
No, it's a lot.
And now there's so many to choose.
Yeah, I think what I want to create in there is the sense that our synergy members, if they are women that have offerings, are like a trusted resource.
Mm-hmm.
You know them, you know, you've seen them in different environments, different kind of conversations that are not about their own work. They're not just selling, but they're real people and they've engaged.
Right.
And then in Synergy, the other benefits are that you can participate and host Silver Tent TV shows. We're going to relaunch Silver Tent Radio soon because there's quite a lot of work in the back end of things, uploading radio shows, uploading the videos to YouTube. You know, all of that takes time and it takes time.
Time. Yeah.
And more time. So so we'll relaunch Silver Tent Radio for people that want to play on there and love sharing their wisdom through audio. We're now exploring really developing Silver Tent publishing. So there's another opportunity if people are creating a book that comes under our criteria, which hasn't been sorted out yet. But if they do, then we're exploring creating that which is just really, really lovely. And then, of course, the silver gatherings as well. So we have some offline events, not many yet, and not very widely hosted. So mainly in southwest England and then in Yorkshire and the north of England. But looking at really developing that too. And then the courses that I deliver, Silver Legacy that you know about, and Writing with Your Muse, which is very good for creative writing. So yeah, so there's a lot on offer there, and it's just a beautiful. It really, to me, feels a very sacred and beautiful space.
I would have to agree, and I know that since I've been in the tent, and I was in Synergy for a few years when you first started that, and then I backed out because I get busy with work, and I wasn't engaging at all. And now it's just been coming alive in me to re-engage, which is part of why I wanted some of the history again. And also I've got this yearning in me to develop the next level of my own work. And so however those may weave in together or come about, but it is a sacred space. And I know so many people because of my time in tent. I know so many. I mean, I've even been in other groups that I came about because of people in the tent, and just, I mean, there's just layers. Like I'm just thinking of, oh yeah, well, through Deborah Sophia Magdalene and through Ellen Curry and through Solara Green and through Mary Lunan and then lots of interconnections. One of the things that's very curious to me is I'm in the United States of America and I keep engaging in these primarily European relationships. I'm like, I need to go local also.
It is really interesting. In fact, if you look at the statistics in the Silver Tent of the membership, there are actually more members in the US.
Really?
Than over here. Yes. But they don't engage as much.
And the US is,
and it's so big. Yeah.
So
we've got, some really fabulous members in Silver Synergy in the US, but it's probably like a couple of handfuls that actually engage. And so they're so far apart. Like I was thinking, I'd love to go and fly in and see Debbie Mansberger in Georgia and also Ellen Curry. And if I did that, I wonder whether I could drive over to Chaco Canyon. Then I looked it up and it said 19 hours.
Yeah, like 3 days of drive time.
Like, how could that be? It's
but you could get to me in Arkansas. That's only about probably 12 hours of drive time.
Amazing, isn't it? Amazing.
Isn't it?
Yeah. But I think one of the things that I just want to share, because there are so many communities on Facebook, aren't there, and all over the place. But usually they're run by one person around one person's work. So it might be that you join a group that's the nutrition that you're interested in, and then you might join a group that's about the kind of branding that you want to do with your work, or PR, or humor. I mean, it could be anything, couldn't it? And what is so very different about the Silver Tent is that it isn't just about my work at all. It's about everybody's in Synergy who has an offering. And that's really exciting in one way and very confusing in another.
Right.
So it's quite, because Facebook is not set up, their group structure is not set up to have something like 50 facilitators in one group.
Right. 2, 3.
So that's quite an interesting thing, which is why we have what we call our silver web, which is we do actually have the most amazing platform off Facebook. It's completely private. It's not, people going, oh, if you're going to do another platform off Facebook, why don't you use Mighty Network? And I said, well, because we don't know whether they'll sell out.
Exactly.
They own it. I want to have one that we own and that we don't have anybody else's algorithm, nobody else looking in. It cost a lot more money and nobody wants to go there because because we don't have an app and it's not on Facebook, but it's there. And when we do, and we will migrate over there, the more times that Facebook has outages like it did today.
Like it did today for the first time in my awareness ever.
It was a big one.
It was a big deal.
Yeah. That's going to be our refuge. And when we use that, because it's like having our own Facebook, once we do start using that, and I don't mind how long it takes, I don't mind, it's there, it's intact, and it is pristine and beautiful, then that will accommodate all the different numbers of all the different facilitators, because it's structured for that.
Mm-hmm.
It will be different.
Mm-hmm.
And better.
That's exciting. It's so, and I love that it's already there. And I at one point was a member of that, but I couldn't figure out how to actually engage over there either. So I'm one of those also, but to have it there, because you never know what's around the corner.
Exactly. What people don't get about it, and even in fact the designer didn't get it for ages, is that it's as if we've taken over Facebook, that we have the whole thing. So suddenly it is a different animal. You're not looking for the silver tent group. It is the silver tent.
It is the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is, you've got to get your head around it. And it's so similar to Facebook, but there are some slight differences. So it really throws people off. But I hated Facebook when I first joined. It's like, oh, why does it say 379 above that little thing?
Right.
You know, notifications, right?
Notifications, right? Well, Francesca, I'm going to wrap this up just for time wise, but I so appreciate your openness, your sharing, your vision. And I really am inspired not only with what you've already created, but with where you're headed, because I can feel the what do we say, the destiny in it, the expansiveness in it. And I am actually really super excited to be re-engaging with you personally, but also with the concept, with the other women, and with the possibilities that the Silver Tent Synergy Legacy TV, radio publications provide.
And all of that, yes, and all
Right?
of that. There's so much more. I mean, the energy is just really ramping up.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel myself like, oh, I ought to stop now.
Well, why? We'll stop this recording now, but don't stop. Don't ever stop.
Oh, bless you. Bless you.
I thank you so very much.
It's been such a pleasure, Aliza. Honestly, I was so touched when you got in touch with me. And I was like, wow, that's just so lovely. And that was really affirming for me. So,
and
yes,
then that was that, and then that touched me that you were touched. And here we go.
We're so sweet, aren't we?
Aren't we? All right. With so much love to everybody, we'll put links and all kinds of things in the description. So please come join us.
Definitely.